hit this record, but okay, so we in recording. So first, I want to say I appreciate each and every one of you for coming on the panel today. You know what I'm saying? Y'all really could have been doing anything else, but I appreciate y'all carving out a few times for this private online Zoom event. I invited 25 people. People who I respected, you know what I'm saying? People I may have received something from people who may have helped me in the past, and I hadn't forgot about that. So again, appreciate that for coming on. For people that don't know, but everybody know who I am. I'm Kofi Piche. Um, and we're going to be listening to my new book. I have a new book called Your No is My Biggest Blessing. It is in paperback and is in audio version, right? So it's in two different formats, right? And it's purposely done that way because we still have people that loves to read the physical copies, and then we have people who like to listen to audiobooks, which that format of book style has become more popular than anything. And so I want to make sure I have that book in that format um, as well. So we're gonna listen to the Prelude 1, Prelude 2, chapter 1, chapter 3, and chapter 6, right? And it's all in purpose. We're not gonna listen to the entire book. It's only an hour and 15 minutes. Um, so I want y'all to understand the word no, understand what a blessing is, understand the experience of rejection, um, learning the process, and then becoming the help, right? Or becoming the blessing to someone else, right? So here goes, let's see who just come in here. This Ladosha, right? Um, so I'm gonna turn it over to let me put it on speaker mode. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it over to my two moderators. I'm gonna let my two moderators introduce themselves, and then they'll let y'all individual introduce them yourselves, and then we'll go straight into uh what we came here for.
Hey, yo, what up? My name is Dr. Ashley Wade. I'm so happy to be here. Celebrating with Kofi, Your No is My Biggest Blessing is a gem of a book, and I can't wait to break it down with y'all and discuss. I'm a pharmacist, I'm an author, I'm part of the Griots podcast, I'm part of the Silly Magazine team, and I really do enjoy reading and books and study and being involved in the community in those ways. So I'm grateful to be here. And the biggest thing today is, your involvement. We definitely want you to be conscious of the time whenever we get a chance to discuss. So keep that in mind as we keep it going here. And I'll turn it over to Sean as we get started, and we'll go around and introduce ourselves.
What up, what up? Peace, peace. I'm the other Sean P. I am Sean P, the host of the Sean P Experience, sitting with the Griot podcast. I am one of the four hosts of the Griot podcast with Kofi, Dr. Wade, our brother Ladarius. I'm also a 16 times self-published author, 20-year public speaker, community educator, advocate, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm very, very, very excited about this event because I've always heard like album listening parties for hip hop and R&B. I've never seen an audiobook listening session, man. So this is very innovative in the time where literacy is at an all-time low. They have the audio version. They have Kobe doing something like this. I'm excited about that. So we'll give you guys some time to take 30 seconds to a minute, introduce yourself to the panel, and welcome to the show.
Ladies first.
That's right. Go ahead, Charlotte.
Okay, hey y'all. My name is Charlotte, and I guess a little something about me is that I'm heavily involved in the arts. I'm a dancer. I'm an actress. I love poetry, and I also really love reading. I love doing research, and I love reading as well. And I'm happy to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
All right. Go ahead, Sister Ladosha.
What's happening, good people? It's me, your homegirl, Adosha Wright, aka Key Lolo. I'm of course, obviously, I'm a book lover to the umpteenth power. I'm also a cosmetologist, an Afro hair activist, policy advocate, and anything that's blickety blickety black and Kofi pie ish. Then, or if I saying the right Kofi, is it PC? How am I
It's
saying?
P-Shay. It's P-Shay.
P-Shay, okay. I'm making up my own words and shit, okay. Kofi P-C-ish. Right? Am I saying it right?
It's P-Shay.
P-Shay. All
Yeah.
right. And the number one Kofi P-Shay. I thought I was saying pie side. I gotta get it together. What's up, Sean? How you doing? All right, that's me, Ladosha Wright. I'm excited to be here.
All right. Go ahead, Sister Wendy.
Thank you so much, Coffee, for inviting me to come on here to the panel for your listening party. I'm looking forward to it. My name is Wendy Aris. I am a podcast host, a researcher, a genealogist. That's what I do in my free time, as well as being a caretaker for a loved one. So, but again, I'm really excited to be here to hear this. So I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
All right. All right, fellas, y'all go ahead.
B48 Black family. This is Brother Akande. Just here to support Brother Kofi. He's a research brother. He's also fellow members of Team RBG. I'm happy to meet the gentleman in Baltimore during the Race First convention. So just looking forward to see what he's providing. I'm just your everyday servant of the ancestors.
All right. Next person.
How y'all doing? I'm Joseph Johnson. I go by Joey. I met Kofi. You gonna hear me call him B or Bear probably because that's just what I've been knowing him since I was probably about a sophomore in college. We met and we just been real tight ever since. And I'm just happy to see all the things he doing because these are some things that he been talking about for a long time, been wanting to do like decades ago, write books and be involved in these types of things. So seeing him do all this is just very exciting for me because I'm just like glad to see and support whatever it is that he want to do.
For sure. All right. Next.
Yes, I go. Travis McCray, part of the Kobe P-Shay research team, author, researcher, uh, and I do slow and chop mixes on YouTube. And I'm a father, brother, son. That's it.
All right. All right. Shout out to Travis. All right. Next person.
I'll go since the other two waiting. My name is Sean, the yellow Sean P. I am a member of the Kofi P-Shay research team and the Masu Warrior Clan. I am a researcher at heart, an avid representative for Black people in general, and our fight and struggle for our right to exist. I've known a lot of you for a very long time, and I am in the biggest fights of all online fights ever as it pertains to the Black identity in America and our history and existence as we're under attack. We've been under attack since about 2015, but it's grieving more since the misinformation campaign has followed the previous administration, its first term. So I'll say that. And yeah, peace to me to everybody else. And yeah, I'm here.
All right. All right.
Peace. It's your brother Satep Rob Mariaman. Been knowing Kofi for a little over 10 years now, man. It's the blue bar, man. It's blue bar. Whenever Kofi called me, asked me to do something, I'm here for him. So I'm here to support my brother. Like I said, been knowing him so long. Just crazy, man. How far we done came, the accomplishments Kofi has made through the through the struggle and the strive, just to strive to be great and help our people. So yeah, I'm just here to support my brother, man. Peace.
All right, appreciate that. Next.
Peace, everybody. This is Fasal, member of the Kofi research team and father, um, self-researcher, and currently changing a diaper. So I'm gonna make this as swift as possible. But peace, everybody.
All right, all right, all right. I think that's the last person that we hadn't missed anybody have. Okay. So let's get started. So we'll go ahead and get started again. I want to say again, I appreciate each and every one of you for coming on to this private event today. This is Your Know is My Biggest Blessing, interactive listening experience. So again, today we'll be listening to my audio book. The book was narrated. I hired a narrator by the name of E. Kojo Andrews. You can find him on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. I think all of his handles are is E. Kojo. So somebody got something up on the screen. Who that, Sean? But that's good though that you put that up there. So while we get ready to get into this, please take notes. This is like I said, we're going to go through the Prelude 1, Chapter 1, Chapter 3, and Chapter 6. Prelude 1, Prelude 2, we're going to listen to both of those, and then we're going to interact. There's going to be 10 minutes, a 10-minute window for whoever want to speak. The moderator's going to moderate the time. They're going to allow y'all, I think, 2 minutes to speak. So we'll talk about the Prelude 2, Prelude 1, Prelude 2. Then we'll go into Chapter 1, and then we'll go into interacting, which will be 15 minutes, the totality for all of that. So whoever want to engage in that will be able to engage, and the moderators will be moderating the time. Is that Chapter 3 and then Chapter 6? Because again, I want y'all to understand blessing, experience rejection, learn the process, and become the blessing, because the overall message in this book is not to glorify rejection or glorify the word no, but what do you do after that, right? And then how do you become that blessing afterwards to someone else? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn my mic down, because that's the better sound for me. I can play it through my Rodecaster Pro, through my headphones, but to get the most quality, I'll just put it down to my speaking device on the microphone, so y'all be able to hear it very well. So let's get into Prelude 1. The Prelude 1 is talking about no, give me 1 second.
Prelude 1. The word no. The word no is one of the smallest words in the English language, yet it carries enormous psychological and emotional weight. For many people, no does not register as a boundary or a momentary refusal. It feels like a verdict. It is often interpreted as never, not good enough, or not chosen. Because of that, the word has the power to stop movement before it ever begins. Etymologically, the English word no traces back to Old English na, meaning not ever or not at all, and further into Germanic linguistic roots associated with negation and refusal. Historically, no functioned as a firm denial, a stopping point, a linguistic wall. Over time, that meaning seeped into how people internalize rejection, not as information, but as identity. Psychologically, this is where damage occurs. When people treat no as a statement about who they are instead of where they are, rejection becomes personal rather than instructive. Dreams stall, confidence erodes, movement stops. But no is not destiny. In my life, no became a teacher. Each refusal exposed a weakness I needed to strengthen. Each closed door forced me to research, to study, to build, and to rely on myself. Instead of hearing, "You can't," I learned to hear, "Not this way." In this book, no is neither worshiped nor feared. It is translated. Sometimes no means protection. Sometimes no means preparation. Sometimes no means the lesson has begun. And sometimes the greatest damage no can do is convince you to stop when it was actually meant to redirect you forward.
All right, I'm gonna play the second one, and then we'll go into an interaction.
Prelude 2. The meaning of blessing. In modern usage, the word blessing has been softened. It is often used casually to describe comfort, convenience, or something that feels good in the moment. A good day is a blessing. A surprise is a blessing. A smooth path is a blessing. But that understanding is shallow and incomplete. Historically, the word blessing carries far more weight. The English word bless comes from Old English bletsion, which scholars connect to meanings such as to hallow, to consecrate, and to set apart. Early interpretations of the word are also linked by linguists to ideas of sacrifice, marking, and even blood, suggesting that a blessing was never simply a pleasant experience, but something made sacred through cost, transition, or transformation. A blessing, in its deeper sense, is not just a benefit, it is a process. It is something that prepares you, shapes you, and positions you for responsibility. Historically, blessings were associated with divine favor, protection, and spiritual well-being, but also with obligation. To be blessed was to be entrusted. That definition aligns more closely with lived reality. Many of the most transformative moments in life do not feel like blessings when they arrive. They arrive as loss, as rejection, as pressure, as disappointment, as closed doors. The phrase, "a blessing in disguise," exists because human beings often fail to recognize growth while it is happening. In my life, the blessing did not come in the form of people saying yes. It came through people saying no. It came through silence, runaround, and refusal. Those moments stripped away false support and forced me into discipline, self-education, and self-reliance. They consecrated me, not for comfort, but for purpose. That is the definition of blessing I operate with in this book. A blessing is not what makes life easy. A blessing is what makes you capable. A no may look like rejection at first, but over time, it reveals itself as protection, preparation, and positioning. So, when I say your no was my biggest blessing, I am not speaking metaphorically. I am speaking historically, psychologically, and spiritually. The no did not destroy me. It set me apart. It removed dependency. It demanded growth. And it prepared me to become the help I once asked for. This book begins here because understanding no and blessing correctly changes how you read every chapter that follows.
All right, that was the prelude 1 and prelude 2. So that before we open it up was I wanted to establish what no is, and I wanted to establish what a blessing is, so you will know exactly um what to look for when we going into the book. Again, like no is always redirection. You know, we no is not the end all be all. Blessing is we always look as blessing as something great, but blessing sometimes can be in discomfort, can be in disbelief. So that's where I looked at my blessings at, and that's where we get most of our blessings out of. It's not out of something good, it's something that has something that is diseased, something that is not comfortable, that in the end becomes one of our truest blessings. And no, like I say, is nothing but protection. You know, we have to look at no as protection. We have to look at no as preparation. You know what I'm saying? We have to look at no as this is the process that we must follow in order to succeed. So I want to open it up. So, you know, and I want to know, have, you know, what was some of y'all, if y'all did, what was some of uh y'all rejections that ended up becoming some of y'all blessings? Of how did y'all confront the word no in whatever form or shape that it was in?
I think
Anybody
for
can
me,
jump in and speak on that.
I think for me, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
All right. Um, I think some of the no's that I got, I didn't even realize were blessings until like a lot later. Like, w- um, like you remember, like after I like graduated and I couldn't find a job, and I was putting in applications and applications, and the thing that frustrated me the most was that when I was in school, I worked for the school, and so by the time I graduated, I had actual real job experience plus a degree, and I couldn't even get a job at Best Buy. I was like, wait a minute. But then, you know, it took me through that whole process, and I was applying for like 3, 4 jobs a day, and by the time I did get like the job in Jackson, I realized that like, and not anything about, like to say anything negative about, Hattiesburg or anything like that, but any one of those no's that could have became a yes would have derailed everything that I was supposed to be. At that time I didn't know it yet, and I was real stressed out. Like, I'm talking about stressed out bad. But by the time I did, and then even after that, even after I left Jackson, but still, like when I look back, I'm like, man, if I would have got any one of those other jobs, I wouldn't even be right. I would not be where I'm at today, because who knows if I would have got comfortable, if I would have got content with what I had. Oh, I'm good. That would have never pushed me to do things that I did and go to places I went. Like moving to Boston, you know, we got a lot of people on here, that's real pro black. I don't know if they've ever lived somewhere where you would leave and go to the store, go a whole day just doing regular stuff and never see another black person. But um, it was all for the good though.
All right.
In the end.
Appreciate it. Anybody else?
You brought up a great point there, Joseph, when you said I didn't realize it, because I think it takes, as Kobe is talking about in the prelude, it takes like a insight and experience in order to see it that way. And I like how he included something to that effect on page 11 when it says, the no set me apart. So it takes some insight in order to see no as a blessing and some experience so that you can see the value of that no in, what happened to you future facing. You know what I'm saying? So no definitely showed up in my career path, and it showed up as in like not passing standardized tests, um, being waitlisted and rejected when it came to like applying to professional school. And even like in certain moments, when I showed up to take the test, the people didn't accept my identification. So sometimes no shows up in ways that do startle you, and require for you to lean on whatever you believe in. And I think that's an important piece of the story too. So those no's turned up into me eventually becoming successful in the program, but then it also opened my eyes to other things that I could do and be besides, the standard professional, so I'm glad that those no's were early, those no's were throughout the program, and even in the job field, but I'm so grateful to be who I am and not let the titles define me. So that's what no led me to discover about myself.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I look at it as the case of dependent or independent, right? So from my perspective, you learn from every no that you get, but it has to be who is distributing the no for me. Is it my mother, my father, my grandmother, my siblings, my cousins? Why is it that they are telling me no about something? And then I can define, like you defined it in the first prelude, you can define that and then understand the intent and purpose of that no. But is it a somewhere you're seeking an opportunity to grow and gain that dependence, right? To gain, I mean, that independence. Is it coming from areas that's stopping me from being able to progress? Then you have to go and define that no and look at it totally different. So to me, it's the crutch, no crutch. And behind the crutch, no crutch, or in this case, dependency or independency, that's what matters the most because we all have hit that wall. We all been told certain things. Man, listen, when I was 10 years old after my father died, I was told I wasn't gonna never be nothing. I was gonna be a crackhead like my cousin, and I would be stealing and in the streets, struggling, and never gonna be nothing. And that came from people who I loved, right? That came from people that I love. So when you swallow that pill and you deal with that reality, that force you to go. That's the worst note you can get. You can deal. I could deal with anything else if I could lift the weight of that, of people that I love telling me that. And so I looked at that as a child. I didn't do drugs. I never did drugs, right? Still to this day, I've never done any drugs. I stayed away from that. I was the drug abuse resistance education kid. I was a spokesman, right? The reason that I was a spokesman is because of my environment, and I seen what it did to the people around me and the people that I cared about. As a 6 year old, I used to be at home by myself. And why would a 6 year old be at home? My grandmother, she used to work, and I'm gonna wrap it up. She used to work at night, but I would be alone. My mama wasn't there. So I would be alone. My cousin was strung out on drugs, would come at 11, 12, 1 o'clock, it don't matter what time, beating on the window to let him in the house. He been gone for 10 days straight. He funky as all get out. Shoes stink. Don't nothing smell good about this dude at all. He would come in the room. I would open the window. I'm just 6. I would empathize. I had sympathy. I would open the window, let him in. My grandmother never knew, but she knew when she came in that door and she could smell it. She would wake him up, he'd go take a shower, everything like that. And she never yelled at me for that. Never. She told me to keep him out. Don't open the door. She didn't say don't open the window. She said don't open the door. But it was those moments, and in those moments, and seeing what everything else around in my environment did to people around me that I love, that let me know that I will be facing a lot of no's. I will be needing to gain some independency, and I will need to not allow that hard no ruin the rest of my life. So that's how I look at it, man. Crutch, no crutch.
And feel free to drop a comment in the chat too. If you don't want to talk on the mic, feel free to drop your comments in the chat.
Before we move on, I had a question. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. So from what I picked up too is like no leaves space for discipline and creativity as well. I think it's what a lot of people don't realize when we have certain means of acceptance. It's also a means of instant gratification in certain areas. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you're used to having somebody say yes to you, it's like what the previous brother said, crutch or no crutch, you know what I'm saying? Like you'll never have the opportunity to discipline yourself. You never have an opportunity to learn. And then when the time that, certain adversaries in life come through, you're not you're not built with the means of discipline and creativity that you had the opportunity to embrace during a time of where it could have been a no, or a time where, or you know what, let me do this by myself. or you know what I'm saying, like do something that would just leave space for me to practice on what I need in life. So that's what I'm picking up on.
I wanted to ask the chat before we move on. I know for Kofi and myself, long time to get into the audiobook world, right? I know a lot of us in this chat, serious scholars. We love 300, 400-page books and the footnotes and the end notes, and we pride ourselves on that heavy scholarship, but it took us a long time to get over to the audio side. So I want to ask the chat, how many of y'all even like audiobooks before this, and how you enjoying the audio so far during the prelude?
It took a while for me to get used to. For the simple fact that I'm just old fashioned. You know what I'm saying? Like it took me to while I started reading ebooks. Like everything that I've read outside of just doing internet work was on a piece of paper, was on a paperback or a hardcover. And so as time became more hard. Pardon me. As time became harder, you know what I'm saying? Like I needed to rely on an ebook. I read ebooks throughout my job. You know what I'm saying? I obviously can't bring books with me everywhere I go, so I have that. And then, as far as audiobooks is concerned, I do it to where, I can't be eyes and hands on this as far as reading is concerned. So, as far as audiobooks is concerned, like, I find it much more helpful at this point.
Okay.
I absolutely love audiobooks as an alternative to the news. The media is just quite not where I think any sane human would want to be in the climate of right now. It also gives you the opportunity to tap into because to me certain books are good for audio, definitely. Motivational books are good for audio, and then some of those old classics like Voltaire and Uncle Tom's Cabin, like you can revisit some books that you hadn't read in a long time, and you just kind of want to refresh your thought processes around them and to hear it. I like listening to audiobooks because you hear it from another person's diction and their tone and their inflection on certain words that just kind of draws you into it, especially if you're driving or washing the dishes, just whatever. So I like the sound of the audiobook depending on who's narrating, the story. And then like I said, the story itself. I'm still a book person because I like to I have a relationship with books. I like to write in them and, put notes. I mean, not, you know, I took a course on how to read a book in college. And so that just kind of stuck with me and I love that. But I think audiobooks are really good to me. For those reasons, not just because you just can't pick up a book. But I was reluctant, and I'll admit I'm only about 2 years into audiobooks, but now that I found my own personal way of using them, like James Baldwin, I can listen to those. Maurice White, his autobiography. So I think they're pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll move on. I'm about maybe 3 years in. I always audiobooks have got popular. Paperback was popular, then the ebooks became popular, and then now the audiobooks has became popular. So I just got into the audio space, but me realizing the space of people is not reading anymore, and then me wanting to be a writer, I have to be able to provide another alternative for people who don't actually pick up the physical copies and read. I'm old school. I like to read the physical copies, but I understand the business side too. It makes sense for those who may want to pick it up, but always on the go, or people who are just not interested in picking up books, but they physical book, but they will listening to the audio. And I'm like you, Ladosha, far as annotating my book, writing and tabs and certain things. But even within the audio books, you can do the your same thing with your audio books. You can take notes and so forth with your audiobooks. So I've learned how to do those as well. So yeah, audiobook is experience. So we'll move on to the next thing. We'll move on to chapter 1, and then we'll interact with that. Then we'll move on to 3, and then the closing will be chapter 6. Let me pull it up. And while I'm doing that, peace to brother Haru. Haru, introduce yourself. You came on a little bit late. You was having technical difficulties. So can you, excuse me, please introduce yourself to the people on the panel, please? You'll have to, if you're speaking, you'll have to unmute your mic. Yeah, he might have walked away from it. So let me pull this up.
Nah, he right there. He just got to unmute the Zoom. If he on his cell phone, he got to unmute his mic. But he probably know he just went away now.
Yeah, I see you trying to, I see you doing your camera, but you have to unmute your mic. Let me pull this up while you doing that.
Everything good?
Yeah, we can hear you now, brother. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm King Haru. I'm a music artist, I say a home scholar. I met Kofi through RBG meetings and things like that. I support the brother. I like a lot of things that he's doing. So everything he's a part of, I'm gonna pop up. I'm gonna be there.
Most definitely. Appreciate you, Haru. I wanted you to introduce yourself. I appreciate you for being on the panel today.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go into chapter 2.
Chapter 1. The Blessing Hidden Inside Rejection. In late 2019, I wanted my research team, Kofi Pichet Research Team, to publish a book entitled Spears of the Mosi, a historical survey of the minds of African warrior scholars, Volume 1. Now, there were so many people in this virtual community called the Conscious Community, which I used to belong to, who were self-published authors and had been publishing for years. I knew quite a few people whom I could reach out to. When the time came, we created an outline for the book and began writing its chapters. I reached out to quite a few people and gave them the rundown on what Kofi Pichet Research Team was trying to do. I reached out to some of them via Facebook Messenger and others by phone. Everyone agreed to help me with the book project once it was complete. To be honest, I needed help from the beginning with the font, margins, spacing, and sizing for the book. Once we were close to finishing the chapters, Vyasa Nicolo Gullah, a member of the Kofi Pichet research team, finished the book cover. I reached back out to everyone again via Facebook and by phone. Some read the message on Facebook but did not reply. Some replied, okay, and that was that. The ones I reached out to by phone, some never picked up. Some said no, and some gave me the runaround. There were many things we did not know, such as how to convert the manuscript file, how to upload it to Amazon, how to handle book splits, and how to receive royalty payouts. Also, we did not know much about editing, proper font sizing, the copyright page, and the correct dimensions for the book cover based on the number of pages in the manuscript, and owning your own ISBN, which is essential. But hey, those who refuse me, ignore me, and dodge me gave me the mental and spiritual shift. This time, I had become rooted, deeply connecting me to my ancestors. It's like the ancestors were saying, move forward with your vision. We have always, as a people, found a way out of no way, with no help. Trial and error is what we did until we were able to succeed. We never gave up, and we were never afraid to fail until we got it right. Having read as much as I had for years before trying to publish a book with my research team, I knew that everything I was hearing or speaking to my spirit was true. I am my ancestors. I have their DNA, and their blood flows through my body. They had me put on my big boy pants. which forced me to step into a more leadership role and become more disciplined about self-teaching myself how to create a real manuscript and learning the business aspect. I want to talk about the emotional side of this before I end this chapter and move on to chapter 2, entitled The Runaround, When People Waste Your Time on Purpose. I was definitely in my feelings. I had been involved in this so-called conscious community for years, and I put in a lot for the conscious community by doing lectures for years to educate the people on the culture of North, South, East, Central, and especially West Africa, because most African American ancestry goes back to West African and a small percent to Central Africa. During this time, Egypt, or Kemet, was the only topic being discussed, and Egypt, or Kemet, is in North Africa. So, the Mosi warrior clan, a research team of which I am a member, brought the research and discussions on West Africa because African Americans are more connected to the West than to the North. I had dedicated my money to buying books and devoted my time to reading them and putting together scholarly PowerPoints to share this information and my opinion with the people. But back to my emotions, which were all over the place, because in my mind, the people who were conscious were supposed to be about Black unity and helping other Black people rise. So I was confused with the runaround, the non-response, and the no's. I would then get angry and say, I ain't messing with them or supporting these people. I am done with shouting them out in my videos. I made up my mind that I would not watch another video, buy another book of theirs, or buy another shirt or service from these individuals who, in the beginning, told me they would help me. I was very disappointed, but I realized that every no was pushing me back toward myself. If there is one person I can count on, it is me. That's what I did. I started betting more on myself, counting more on my ability to comprehend everything I read and every video I have listened to. This is self-reliance. The psychology of hearing no and how it pushes you towards self-reliance is nothing new. You just have to tap into it. According to an article on the Well-Being Counseling website, which features professionals in the field with different areas of practice, states that hearing no or experiencing social or personal rejection can serve as a potent, albeit painful, catalyst for developing self-reliance. Psychologically, this process involves moving from a state of seeking external validation and support to an internal locus of control, driven by a need for self-preservation and autonomy. Self-reliance is the ability to rely on your capabilities, judgment, and resources to direct your life effectively. It means self-motivation and self-belief to achieve your goals and handle adversity independently. The key components of self-reliance include self-motivation, having the drive and discipline to take action without needing external pressure or incentives. Self-efficacy, believing you have the skills and competence to succeed. Self-direction, making decisions and steering your course based on your values. Self-knowledge, understanding your abilities, needs, limitations, and ideal path. Embracing individuality, pursuing your unique interests and priorities rather than conforming. Being self-reliant means you don't rely on others for constant reassurance, direction, or assistance. You have the inner confidence and resilience to push forward. This doesn't mean you never rely on others. Part of self-reliance is recognizing when you truly need help or guidance and seeking it out proactively. But at your core, you trust yourself to handle challenges within your control. You take full responsibility for your choices and their outcomes. Self-reliance leads to greater autonomy, achievement, and purpose. It enables you to realize your talents and potential. My transition to self-reliance happens when I begin to reframe the rejection and shift my source of motivation from extrinsic or external to intrinsic or internal. Key message: a no hurts, but it is also a divine redirection.
All right. That was chapter 1. So after listening to chapter 1, well, Sean, I'll let you. You got something you want to, while I do this, do you want to ask the question, direct the question, or you, Dr. Ashley Wade, direct the question pertaining to this chapter? I'm trying to send this to 2 people. I've been trying to send this email out to them for the last few minutes.
Okay. So we had the prelude 1 and 2, and now we've had chapter 1 to get an idea of the framework of the power of the word no. So the question is, for the panel, do you see the word differently at all, the word no differently now after hearing that thus far? Do you see it different in your framing of the word no?
Nah, for me, no. The reason that I say that is because I've been in sales my whole life, and I had to deal with a lot of no's. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was door to door, face to face, car lots, all that. Heavy sales, heavy high stress situations or environments. No. And that muscle memory, because it takes it, trains you to just continue to push forward. But more importantly, just being able to learn from a child and evolving and going through the experiences, you got to grind. So there's a hustle that is implied. So for someone that has not endured a lot of the things that most of us have gone through in that early rejection phase, I see that this could, and to answer your question, Sean, this could change a lot of direction for how people see no initially and then how they see it moving forward by reading this, because this generation, the children of this generation, um, with all the mental health issues and things like that that has come about, this could inspire and get them to move through those no's and be able to adjust and adapt. Basically, from the earlier onset of the first 2 preludes and then chapter 1.
I definitely do. That was an excellent call that you made there, Sean. And a great question, Sean P. Both Sean P's. But I think, especially in relationships, I know when we think about no, we think about it specifically, or when it comes to career or choices, life choices, but also included in those life choices are relationships. And that's the worst thing. We don't like to hear no. I don't want to be with you. No, this isn't working for me. No, or sometimes we don't even like to say it because, of that uncomfortableness of the word. But I like how he addresses like self-knowledge. And I think, a lot of those pieces are important, but especially the self-knowledge and self-worth is important when it comes to understanding no. So I think, this book will definitely help people understand that there's more to it than just the word. There's a lot more development that can take place, a lot more understanding that can take place. But if you understand yourself, then you feel more comfortable saying no when you're uncomfortable or when it doesn't feel good. And then you understand when somebody tells you no, that is part of the process. Good call there.
Yeah, and this chapter 1, this chapter should be familiar to everyone because someone has experienced somebody telling them no, somebody giving them the runaround, someone doubting them. So this chapter it wasn't just, I talk about my experience in this chapter, but I give you the tools on what I did. And even with that, I show you that I have what they call it, immature maturity, where I talked about, these people that gave me the runaround, told me no, left me out on red, you know what I'm saying, didn't respond back. These were people that I looked up to. These were people that already had a skill set that me, Sean, any Sean Calfani that's on the panel, Vasa Nicolo Gutter that's on the panel, Chavez that's on the panel, Satep and Rod that's on the panel, we make up the Kofi Pise research team. So we're heavy entrenched in information. So now we're trying to learn how to come write and then convey it because we do PowerPoint presentations, but we want to know now, how do we convey this message, this information that we have retained? How do we convey it through the public, through literature? So we was trying to develop that skill set. And these were people that we looked up to that was giving us the runaround, people who was doubting us, people who was telling us no, people who was not even responding back, people who wasn't genuine. So I talk about that in chapter 2, the runaround, but we're not going to get into chapter 2. So I know a lot of you was familiar, but through that, I didn't bash these people. I didn't go back on my platform and I didn't insult them because they didn't do what I wanted. Every no in this chapter, what I'm getting at, it pulled me back to myself. And you have to be self-reliant. You can't rely on anybody to make your dreams, your goals, your aspirations come true. You have to rely on yourself. Not saying you don't need help, but those no's should push you back to yourself. And Dr. Ashley Wade, who's the moderator who wrote chapter 1, she talks about knowing who you are. So when those people tells you no, give you the runaround, or even give you some bad advice or information, you know who you are. You know your value. You know your worth. So their no's can't discourage you. You know that their no is not the end all be all. And then, sometimes no is redirection. It redirects you. Okay, I may not be ready, so let me go back and prepare myself so I can be ready. So that's what that chapter 1 was, about.
Let me ask a grand question. Now we have books, we got ebooks, we got paperbacks, we got audiobooks. How do you and the other scholars feel now at this point versus way back years ago, whenever this happened, chapter 1? Now we got audiobook, we got a listener party going on right now. How y'all feel now?
It's the grind of it all, man. I mean, just to be real, not to just jump in like that, but we dedicated a lot of man hours and meetings and ideas. Like, we're on Zoom, but it's funny because when we were trying to get the book done, we was on Zoom. You know what I'm saying? We was on Zoom. We had Vyasa working off to the side on his computer because some of us had Macs. So we were able to get in the pages, we would share our stuff, all of us really, and we were going in and we were all doing these little self-edits for ourselves and reading, going through. Like we had this whole method that we basically just jumped out the window and created for ourselves in order for us to push through that whole project, bro. And then to come through and just deal with everything that was endured. Because trust me, when Kofi tell you that he was sick and tired of people, he grew very angry and sick and tired of people behind a lot of things because of no. You see what I'm saying? And because of being told one thing or another, and then it would be, I think I spent a lot of time, and not saying that nobody else did, because we all did in periods. I'm just gonna say it like that. We all did in periods. So Tepera know what I'm talking about. Vyasa know what I'm talking about when I say this. And even Chavis, even though Chavis came a little bit later, we all spent our separate individual time reeling Kofi back in, and we all spent our collective time maintaining those emotions because we knew what it meant. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be truthful, Satepera, he didn't care if we did a book or not, but because Kofi asked, because Kofi made it a priority. It was for Kofi anything. And that was the rallying cry behind it all, because we all set aside to do whatever it is. Listen, I was working from home when we were doing these projects, and I was not working. I was doing I had my laptop in front of my workstation, and we were working on a book because I had the time, right? Because what I was doing with my job from work from home, it was just so easy for me to manipulate that and still be able to do my job. But we collectively, that to your point, Sean, that got us to where we are, bro, because that grind, the failing, succeeding, the pressures to get to where he is now with the audiobook, I wouldn't change it, bro. I wouldn't change it. It made us who we are.
No doubt. No doubt. Vasa, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, to the first, Sean, I wanted to answer that question. The sole reason I opted to put a survey of the mind in the title is because I fully entrusted these gentlemen have a lot to say and contribute to the overall culture or community. When it started as a book. I was like, no, that's just gonna spark the seed in them. So I thought it's not to, sound self prophecy or anything of that nature. But I could see that Kofi, Sean, even Satep, once the ball got rolling, it would be something that would never ever stop. And that was the whole point of saying, let's call it survey number one.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole point because I seen the potential, but beyond potential, I seen the ability to execute. So I'm not shocked at all that Kofi's here. I knew it was going to happen. So salutes Kofi for sticking to the plan.
All right, all right. So our moderator said we got to move on to the next chapter. We've exhausted the time for chapter 1. So we'll go into chapter 3 and then we'll come back and engage in the next chapter. All right.
Self-education, becoming the master of your own craft. How did I educate myself after being refused help? I stayed up late nights researching the process on how to create a professional manuscript. I would go to Amazon KDP and spend hours on their platform, reading and rereading their terms and conditions, their conditions of use, and the Create a Book section. I went through their book titles and editions, authors and contributions, book descriptions, keywords, and categories. I went on and read the book formatting section, KDP publishing orders and book copies, and definitely payment and report, which explains the financial splits. I learned from reading these many sections that, before anything happens, the manuscript must be converted to a PDF, and the book cover dimensions must be set to match the number of pages in the manuscript. This was good info because I was going to try to upload the book cover and the manuscripts together from Pages, a writing app on MacBooks. I bought books like A People's Guide to Publishing, Build a Successful, Sustainable, Meaningful Book Business from the Ground Up, The Essential Guide to Getting Your Book Published, How to Write It, Sell It, and Market It Successfully, On Writing, a Memoir of the Craft. I read those books from cover to cover and learned practical advice on the writing process, reading widely, writing consistently, understanding the entire publishing ecosystem, development, printing, distribution, and accounting. Those books helped me, and they definitely came in handy later on down the line for a new vision, which I will share in Chapter 5. Out of the books I name, I highly recommend you all A People's Guide to Publishing, Build a Successful, Sustainable, Meaningful Book Business from the Ground Up by Joe Beal. He is the founder and publisher of Microcosm Publishing for 24 years, with millions of books sold. This book was a game changer for me and would be a game changer for someone trying to understand the book business and its processes, from independent or self-publishing to major or traditional publishing. As I tell you, the reader, about this book, it makes me want to pull it back off the shelf and reread it because I have not read it since 2020. Let's not forget the hours and hours of YouTube videos I would watch. I remember pulling up a lot of Draft to Digital videos. Draft to Digital is a platform that self-publishes digital books, or ebooks, and paperback books. A few years later, I would use this platform in December of 2023 to publish an ebook through their distribution. Draft to Digital YouTube video helped me. Some years ago, they made step-by-step videos on how to start a self-publishing career, how to get started, and how to set up a new book, etc. There was also an Authors Guild YouTube channel where I would watch and learn about book royalties, doing your own marketing, and how to find an agent if you are trying to get your manuscript picked up by a traditional publishing house. There was also Chris Fox's YouTube channel. Chris is also a best-selling fiction author. Chris also has books on writing and marketing. On his YouTube channel, he would do episodes on motivation for authors and quick tips to make your writing more compelling. I watched more videos, but I can't remember them all. However, I remember those videos from those channels because they were my go-to channels, where I would watch them for hours and pause them repeatedly to write down key points that I thought were very important. Reading, researching, and watching for hours did pay off. I learned a lot of new skills that helped the next few book projects for the Kofi Piche research team. In 2020, we published 3 books: Spears of the Mosi, From Spears to Pen, and Spiritual Combat. Let me make this clear. I had 2 other brothers, Inni Harrit Sean Kafani and Vyasa Nicolo Gullah, who did their own reading and research and helped out on the 3-book project we dropped in 2020. Now, those books were somewhat successful, and we did make a few errors, but that's what trial and error is all about. When we later discovered the errors, or someone made us aware of them, we would immediately make the changes and reload the book back up on the Amazon KDP platform. I learned so much in the process of dropping those book projects. We would later drop 2 more book projects, Spear Masters, and our last and final book, We Are the Spears of Victory. Over the span of 3 years, we dropped 5 books that I am still proud of. We were a writing team that wrote historical nonfiction. We all love history, especially African culture and tradition. The skills I began to practice and develop were putting together manuscripts, editing, writing, branding, marketing, and some business structure when it comes to book business. Writing better was one of the best skills I developed at that time. I write all the time and enjoy doing it. To be honest, I have always been writing. In my preteen years, I wrote poems. In my teenage years, I wrote raps. And as an adult, I wrote raps. I hope this chapter shows you how to turn self-study into mastery by putting in those 10,000 hours. That if you're serious about anything and there's no one to help and people refuse to help, let that be your motivation to seek out the internet, YouTube, books, articles, and journals. Tap into yourself, trust yourself, and get what you need done by becoming an autodidact. Autodidact, or autodidacticism, is the practice of self-directed learning, where individuals teach themselves new subjects or skills without formal instruction, driven by personal interest, curiosity, and self-motivation, using resources like books, the internet, or mentors, leading to deep expertise and adaptability. It emphasizes curiosity, discipline, critical thinking, and taking charge of one's own educational journey, fostering independence and empowering individuals to master fields beyond traditional schooling. Let's look at and review some key characteristics of an autodidact. Key characteristics: self-motivation, driven by internal passion and a thirst for knowledge, not external pressure like grades or exams. Control, full autonomy over learning pace, methods, and curriculum. Resourcefulness, skillfully finds and utilizes various resources, online, books, mentors. Discipline, requires commitment and consistent effort to structure one's own learning. Adaptability, essential in rapidly changing fields for continuous skill acquisition. Benefits of autodidacticism: personal learning, focuses on subjects of genuine interest and relevance. Empowerment, builds confidence, self-reliance, and a sense of control over one's growth. Career advantage, develops skills quickly for new roles or entrepreneurial ventures. Lifelong learning, cultivates a habit of continuous exploration and mastery. Yes, I love it, don't you? self-education, self-learning, self-study, and self-teaching. Getting it out the mud, as young people say. That's exactly what I did. I believed in myself and got what I needed to get it done. Anything is possible if you believe in yourself and stay disciplined and determined. Key message: if they won't teach you, teach yourself.
All right, all right. That was chapter 3.
Yeah.
So, oh, go ahead, Sean. You had something?
No, it's on Dr. Wade, the
Okay.
question.
Yeah, it's you,
Mhm.
Dr. Wade.
Let me unmute myself. Okay, cool. How y'all felt about the autodidact piece that Kofi addressed in this chapter? I know lots of us are scholars in here, and I wonder, like, how did that make you feel when he addressed that part of what you can do for yourself? Anybody want to tap in on that piece?
Yeah, I love it. That's where we come from. Dr. John Henry Clark, one of my favorite scholars in the whole wide world. You know, he read a letter. Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it a letter, but a pamphlet from Arthur Schomburg that inspired him to go be a part of the Harlem Renaissance, right? The Negro digs up his past. That was an inspirational movement for Dr. John Henry Clark to go to New York, coming up out of Georgia. That wasn't school. That was motivation from someone who was himself an autodidact, which was Schomburg. Schomburg got a whole library named after him, an autodidact. Not a trained, and nothing against being trained, because we all want to be trained, but that's inspirational. That's how far it can go, basically, right? The successes of your input one day can lead to a library being named after you, and but also spark a mental movement, an intellectual movement within our communities that would set a foundation and a standard for us to build on. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I would like to add, just to piggyback off of what Sean has said. I think it was Toni Morrison who wrote, "If you don't see the book you want in a library, you should
Yeah,
write it."
yeah.
Okay. And I know, we are embarking upon Afro hair science. And so here is a science that was written by an autodidact coming out of sharecropping. And when I first was introduced, now I'm just talking about me, y'all. I ain't talking about nobody else. um, I was reluctant to receive the knowledge because a white person hadn't said it. And it was hard for me because I was just under the European. And I think that what you're doing, Kofi, in the spirit of Sean's comment, is is very, very, very important. Not in the spirit of for us, by us, but because, like you said, we do have intelligence that's outside and is sometimes in alignment with other ethnicities. And if you would, I don't like the term race, but it is what it is. So I commend you, and being an autodidact now that I'm understanding it from other perspectives and other disciplines. I think that what you're doing is very relevant, piggybacking off of the way Sean put it. So
Hey, okay. Go
But
ahead. Oh, go ahead. Somebody else.
real quick, so think, where would we be if those efforts were never made? Remember, they tried to shut us out of everything. If we go back and look at the history of how we arrived to where we arrived to, the fight for the African and African American experience and African throughout our diaspora to be seen, heard, and wrote into history. If they never made that effort to do any of that, our word, our history, our presence would have been silenced. And they just would have wrote slavery was the beginning. Remember, that was the theme. Slavery was the beginning. So prior to that, slavery was the beginning. So if that effort in the 19th century was not made, bro, think of how many centuries back we would be. We would only now with the internet potentially be able to extract any of that. And maybe the Leakeys don't find the bones in Africa that put humanity in Africa first, or they do, and we never knew it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Go ahead, Vasa. You had some, and then I'll let you go, Haru. But go ahead, Haru, since you did it after Haru. You got something, Haru?
I was going to talk about the characteristics basically of writing. You was putting that down. I really can really go off there. Just doing my study and studying like Stolen Legacy, written by George Jackson, or The Black Men of the Nile, written by Dr. Ben Yakinen. I spent like 10 years just researching because I was able to wake myself up off YouTube videos and things like that, following people like Ashwa Kwesi and Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, just YouTube just I can relate to you on a lot of that, and just writing and taking notes, and had to just build another man, a new man, that kind of resurrected me. So I really can, even with music, you say you write with music a lot. I still write with music. I'm working on music all the time.
Dope artist too.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. That builds a new character, and to me, it builds a whole different kind of charisma, building in yourself and through knowledge. So I think that does so much great when you get those type of characteristics from people that just reading books and doing audiobooks. All of them can build a different kind of character in the Black culture and everything. I know just growing up in Chicago, just research and YouTube just built a whole different kind of man. What I was 20 years ago, it just really changed through writing and looking at YouTube, taking notes, and striving to be something better. So I can reflect on that.
No doubt. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Vasa. And then after Vasa, we'll move on to chapter, the last and final chapter. Go ahead, Vasa. You can just jump in, Vasa.
Yeah, I'll try to make it brief. The current subject of conversation, I wasn't aware of what was going to be presented in the book, but when Kofi gave me the invitation, I told him, "Hey, bro, you know, my greatest no becoming my blessing was not being educated. I completed the 5th grade. In 6th grade, I get expelled. I get expelled being in Oklahoma, being told at that young age, write anything you want to about Oklahoma history. Well, I chose to write about the Greenwood riots. That got me expelled. Being expelled didn't derail me from pursuing education. It freed me from being forced to United States standardized education or Eurocentric education, and allowed me to pursue African studies to the best of my abilities. And the greatest blessing of it came from when I heard somebody on this panel, which was Sean P., sit back and say, "Oh, if they say my name all kind of different crazy ways. If Vasa said it, then I don't need no source. That man knows Oklahoma Black history." And that's just to speak to that autodidact in an anecdotal way.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Hey, Kofi, I had a question before we go to the next chapter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So for the panel, once again, I don't know who here has college education or not. It don't really matter though. But those of us that study things ourselves, that we speak on, that we're not college trained in, how do you feel whenever somebody try to check you for not being formally schooled in that subject matter? How do you take that? Or how you feel about that? Being an autodidact in that area.
Am I wrong?
Can I try this real quick? Because it happened this week. I'm in a Discord. They bashing Dr. Clark and they bashing Dr. Ben. Well, a honorary degree don't count, not knowing that Dr. Clark eventually earned a PhD in California. But this is blacks doing this to blacks. And I sit back and I asked, how come y'all don't say this about Abraham Lincoln? The man had literally just 1 year of formal education, which is learning your ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, but no one denounces his ability and education in the study of law. I think that's to to Sean's question, I think that's byproduct of the racism still implemented in the United States and I don't want to the elitism. We got to remember that scholar once upon a time meant not just school, but those of leisure, and we're not in a position of leisure. But that doesn't mean we're incapable of being educated and pursuing education.
Yeah, I agree with you, Vice. But Sean, that's a great question. But my thing about that is when they go and counter us and say, "But you're not trained," or "You're not this," or "You're not that," the experts tell you to not trust them, to trust the work. They tell you to trust the work, which means that there is a methodology in place that if you have the capacity and patience to learn the methodology and follow the flow of what it is that you're researching or arguing about, then you too could come to an affordable conclusion based on the evidence, not an opinion, not a feeling, not a belief. Right. And once you get to that point of understanding a subject matter and being able to converse. Because remember, like me, out of all the people, a kid from the ghetto, no biology background, no epidemiology background, no virology background. But I'm talking about COVID, right? And what SARS-CoV-2 taught me. But being able to have those conversations with doctors and people in that field, and then they're looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, you know what? I never really thought of explaining it to a patient the way that you sit here and we having a conversation about it. Like I'm getting feedback from doctors who actually read the work and then turn around and say that's a good idea. I need to get this to people and let them read this because you're explaining it from our perspective. I'm meeting everybody where they're at, where the doctor can't meet them where they at because the jargon in there. So that's what I like about it. But we just can't talk about anything, right? We gotta be learning something in that field to be able to take it to these experts, and then they can correct us where we're incorrect at and tell us, well, look at this, look at that, and they give us the proper feedback. Because what the pandemic did was open the door for knowledge to be shared across all spectrums. So if you are an autodidact, right? When we were unable to go back into the school system, the internet opened a can of worms, and all information became readily even more available to us to allow us to get through a trying time. So, yeah, Shauna, yeah, to that I just say, okay, take it to an expert. Let's see what they say.
Um, that was a great question. I, I knew Sean, I knew when he read Sean Calfun, he was ready to jump in that question. Yeah,
Man,
yes,
the debates and the arguments, you seen them all. You know I
yes,
boy.
yes,
You know I
yes,
was in the middle of them arguments, boy.
yes, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But and that's one thing, and I'll let Akandi go, and then we'll get into the last chapter. That's that's why we strive ourselves on research methodology, right? So when we arrive to the conclusion that we can formulate these things through the methodology on how they arrive. So we're not speculating. We know how this person arrived to this answer. So we know how to measure. We know how to cut. We know how to do all these things through the proper methodology. Right. So that's the most important part of it. And then, like you say, then take it to the experts. But we're able to do these things through proper research, and then we're able to articulate ourselves just like Sean said, whether it's talking to a doctor, whether it's talking to someone who's into astronomy, paleontology, culture and tradition, whether it's in linguistics and etc., because we understand the proper research methodology. Go ahead, Akandi, and then we'll get into the next and final chapter.
Okay, I'll just be real quick. I think a lot of people who use the argument of one person having a degree or some form of credit in that regard, just use it as um, a thing for their personal agenda sometimes. And when you deal with somebody that has done the work, when you deal with somebody that, is an autodidact that's done the work. So you go across somebody who is scholarship and, what's validated within Eurocentric culture. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's easy for them to assault the intelligence of somebody who hasn't done the work, hasn't studied, or hasn't, touched a college campus to sit there and say that, hey, I got a degree in this. I know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? And from our standpoint, our sense of discernment as African people, we also know that uh, being able to have great knowledge of the universe is actually experiencing. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what's missing uh, with the discernment when it comes to a lot of people who has a doctorate behind their name. You know what I'm saying? Especially those who had an agenda this whole time, and it could be for any other entity except for the agenda that involves people looking like us, and sit there and say that, oh, because of this, now my personal beliefs are etched in stone.
Okay, appreciate that, brother Condi. All right. We'll get into this last and final chapter right here. Hold on. Let me get down.
6. Becoming the help I once asked for.
Hold on, y'all.
There comes a moment in life when you look up and realize you are no
Hold
longer
on.
standing in this. Chapter 6. Becoming the help I once asked for. There comes a moment in life when you look up and realize you are no longer standing in the same place you once were. You are no longer the one asking for help. You are no longer the one waiting on callbacks. You are no longer refreshing your inbox, hoping someone finally responds. You are no longer explaining your vision to people who don't have the capacity or the will to see it. That realization hit me quietly, not with applause, not with validation, not with anyone saying, I see you now. It came when people started calling me, asking me questions, requesting my guidance, trusting my experience, believing my words had value. And that's when the final question of this journey presented itself. What do you do once you no longer need the help you once asked for? This chapter is my answer. From seeking help to providing help. There was a time when I was the one reaching out, earnest, hopeful, and clear about what I needed. I wasn't asking for handouts. I was asking for direction, clarity, time, and truth. I reached out to people who had already walked the road I was trying to navigate. People who had the skill sets. People who had published books. People who claimed to be about Black unity, collective progress, and lifting as we climb. Instead, I got silence. I got excuses. I got runarounds. I got, I'll get back to you. I got, not right now. I got, no. At the time, I couldn't see past the disappointment. But growth has a way of revealing itself later when you're far enough removed from the pain to understand the lesson. One day, it clicked. I realized I had become the person I was once looking for. Not because someone gave me permission, not because someone pulled me in, but because I refused to stop moving after being turned away. Growth always comes full circle. You start out seeking, you struggle through learning, you survive through discipline. Responsibility. At some point, I made a conscious decision. I would not gatekeep knowledge. I would not become the very thing that frustrated me. I would not hoard information as a form of power. I would not confuse struggle with righteousness. I became what I was looking for. Breaking the cycle of, I got mine. Rejection has the power to harden people. It can turn disappointment into bitterness. It can turn survival into selfishness. It can turn success into arrogance. I've seen it happen. Some people climb out of hardship only to pull the ladder up behind them. They start speaking a language of, I earned this, so you should suffer too. That mindset is not strength. It is trauma recycled as philosophy. I made a different choice. I chose community over ego. I chose to believe that my success meant nothing if it didn't circulate back into the community that shaped me. I decided to reject the colonial conditioning that teaches us scarcity rather than abundance, isolation rather than collaboration. Knowledge is not diminished by sharing, it multiplies. This is why I live by a principle I repeat often. Sharing knowledge is to teach twice. As I learn, we all learn. Once to the person receiving it, once to yourself through articulation, reflection, and refinement. When I teach, I sharpen my own understanding. When I mentor, I hold myself accountable. When I help, I honor the ancestors who survived so I could even have the opportunity to learn in the first place. I refused to become a gatekeeper. I refused to become unreachable. I refused to let rejection turn me into someone I would not respect. Building structures, not just success. Personal success is powerful, but structures change lives. There is a difference between helping one person and building something that helps many. I had no interest in being the only one who knew how to navigate publishing, writing, branding, or creative infrastructure. My goal was never to just make it. My goal was to make pathways. That understanding led me to build writing teams, publishing pathways, mentorship spaces, platforms for visibility, and systems designed to outlive me. Same Tree, Different Branch Publishing wasn't just a business. It was an answer to a problem I personally experienced. The Griot's Writing Collective wasn't just a group. It was a response to gatekeeping. A Sealy magazine wasn't just media. It was space making. The podcasts weren't just conversations. They were archives. Helping one person is kindness. Building infrastructure is a commitment to legacy. I wanted to make sure that the next person didn't have to start from scratch the way I did, that the next creative didn't have to guess their way through the process, that the next visionary didn't have to feel alone. That's how blessings circulate. Teaching while still learning. One of the most important lessons I've learned is this: you never stop being a student. I teach, but I am still learning. I mentor, but I am still studying. I guide, but I am still refining. This is the griot tradition. A griot is not someone who claims to know everything. A griot is someone who keeps knowledge moving. Oral tradition survives because it is passed hand to hand, generation to generation, teacher to student, student to teacher. Teaching others sharpened my own skills. Explaining processes forced clarity. Answering questions exposed gaps I needed to fill. Mentoring demanded integrity. Staying humble does not mean shrinking. Staying confident does not mean becoming rigid. I walk that balance daily. Legacy over validation. There was a time when I wanted the people who said no to see me win. I won't lie about that. But growth changed that desire. I no longer need validation from people who could not show up when I needed them. I no longer feel the urge to prove anything. I no longer measure success by applause. Legacy is not clapping. Legacy is continuity. Legacy is seeing others build. Legacy is watching people surpass you. Legacy is knowing the work continues even when your name is not mentioned. The shift happened when my mindset moved from watch me win to come build with me. That's when the work became bigger than ego. The new responsibility of being the blessing. There is a weight that comes with becoming the help you once asked for. Responsibility. Because now you are someone's answered prayer. That means showing up when you say you will. That means being honest, not inspirational for the sake of appearance. That means teaching discipline, consistency, and truth, not shortcuts. That means saying yes with intention, not guilt. Every yes costs energy. Every yes carries accountability. I take that seriously. If their no was my blessing, then my yes must be someone else's breakthrough. The circle is complete. This book began with rejection. It moved through disappointment, self-reliance, education, fear, courage, and creation. It ends with responsibility. Your no was my biggest blessing is not a story about being abandoned. It is a story about becoming self-governed. It is not about being denied. It is about being redirected. It is not about bitterness. It is about transformation. The closed door was the classroom. The rejection was the assignment. The struggle was the teacher. And the blessing was becoming who I needed when no one else showed up. And now the work continues. Key message. If their no was my blessing, my yes must be someone else's breakthrough.
All right, that was chapter 6 right there. I think is your turn, Dr. Ashley Wade, or is Sean's turn? Sean P. Okay.
Yeah, it's on me, man. Fittingly so. So out of my 16 books, at one point, I always harp on mentorship because from like 3 or 4 years old to being an adult, from sports to scholarship, I've always had heavy mentors and coaches in my life. It totally changed my life. And now being 44 years old, man, like people come to me like I'm Uncle OG now. I have a hard time taking that title as Uncle OG. I still feel it could have been young man, but people come to me now because they want marriage advice. Like, should I get married? Or should I leave this job? Or should I go to the military? Should I leave this state? Like these are heavy responsibility questions. I know how I felt 20 years ago when certain folks gave me the best advice they could that wasn't right. So like he said, that responsibility and the weight of I can't just fly give an answer to the question. I got to really take my time to answer the question because they're really taking my words to heart and making a life altering choice based on my words. So how do y'all feel about that responsibility whenever you have mentorship questions in your life?
To to be honest with you, at first, um, when when it first started happening to me, I was like, why they asking me? like what why he asking me should he take this job or that job? Like cause it was strange, a strange position to be in. But then you realize that like people, whether you know it or not, even if you don't talk to them all the time, I mean, all of us have friends that we don't talk to all the time, but they may be following you on Facebook, following you on Instagram, social media, and they kind of see what you're doing. They see your life. You don't realize it, but then like all of a sudden you get a call, and they like, man, I just lost my job, such and such. I'm talking about literally have not talked to you since 2015 or something like after, you know what I mean? And like I don't even know how I forgot I had your number under a nickname that we used to call you when we was in school. You know, I don't even know why it's still in here, um, but then slowly I feel like I kind of like started um taking on that role, especially like as far as like people that was trying to break into like the same career that I'm in. Like, and then one thing that I found myself was starting to want more for people than they wanted for themselves sometimes. And so like, you know, you get real worked up and
Ooh,
you ready,
child.
like, man, I'm telling you, look, hit me up. I got all the information. You done did all this research to make sure, like Sean was saying, you know, this is a serious question. So let me go and let me make sure I got all the information. And then when you done spent all this time, and then you realize that like they was just like half, half invested, you know what I mean? And so that could be discouraging. And so then you like, man, you know what? I, I ain't helping nobody because it made me look foolish. You know what I'm saying? I done got you hired for a job. You done quit after 3 days, but then you realize that like these are some things that might happen. You dealing with people, and so you help the ones that you can that won't help, and then the other people, you just do what you can. So
No doubt.
I feel like being a mentor is a honor. In my work field, a lot of young brothers come and ask me a whole bunch of things. A lot of it's dealing with relationships, but I think it's an honor for them to come and ask me these type of things because you don't meet too many in this new era. You don't meet too many people married for 17 years, and them young brothers always they ask me, hey, how you do it? How you last with a woman that long, and how you with a black woman that long? Because some of these brothers are a little bit lost as far as I tell them I'm Pan African. They come from different walks of life. Some of them FBA, some of them are Christian, and they ought ask me a lot of questions about certain things. And I feel honored that they think I'm intelligent enough, or I'm going to be genuine towards giving them the right walk of life, or anything just to give them the right path on how to walk. I'm honored every day. These brothers are between the ages of 18 and 25, and I'm 41. So for them to come to me and like, hey, why you ain't never date outside your race? Or why are you so pro-black? What makes you so proud to be a black man every day? And I'm honored to express my whole personal thought. And it has actually helped a lot of these brothers that I talk to. A lot of them started viewing things from a different aspect, and they thank me for it. So I think it's an honor. I love being a mentor. I love that the young brothers come and talk to me, even when they feeling down about something, even mental health problems. People come to me about these things, and I'm definitely honored about these situations.
Mm.
Yeah.
I remember speaking of being a mentor while I was in Africa, the Gambia this past October, and I'm just looking at Dwayne Meadows' comment in the chat about being labeled a great king and reality checks comment. I had the great honor of being installed as a queen. And in America, when you think of becoming a queen, you really think of like, like servants and gals, this is but you don't, you're a queen based off of your work in the global community, inspired by your work in your local community. So when you are initiated into queendom, it is not some, get dressed and, you get this invitation, invite all your friends, and you have this dinner, this gala, everybody rent a car. And no, here I am, sweaty, funky, in the bush, I got dirt in my toes, and every place else. And now it's time for you to become a queen. I'm like, but wait, I gotta go wash my hair. I gotta go do my nails. And no, 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 no. That's not what it's all about. If we were all in Africa, we all would be in that initiating process because of what we do in our local communities that goes out into our, national and international, and how we bring it back home, literally in our houses. So I think I'm older than all of you guys, and this is just for me as an elder, listening to the younger generation. You guys represent so much hope And I can't wait to get on my podcast and share with everybody that you guys are definitely, you're the future. We're the rewind and you guys are the new what's happening. And it's an honor to be here to hear you guys have this mighty conversation. So big ups to Kofi and everybody else in the chat. This is like amazing.
Thank you, sis. Thank you. Anybody else?
Shout out how much you swear she old.
Who?
Like when you hit 60, you be like, oh, I'm getting there.
So if nobody else is able to speak, this wasn't the last chapter. Like I said, I skipped. I went from the prelude 1, prelude 2 to chapter 1, chapter 3, and chapter 6. There's 7 chapters within this book. You got an author note in this book. You have an introduction that's written by Dr. Ashley Wade in this book, and you have the afterword written by Sean Palador, who wrote the afterword that landed the book, and I got something on. This is something that I'm finna continues to do is wear the message. You know what I'm saying? And get other people to wear the message. This is becoming the help that you was once looking for. This is the name of the chapter. I also have self-reliance is power. Your no is my biggest blessing. Redirection is rejection is redirection. The closed doors is the classrooms and the lessons. So these are messages that I kind of reiterated within these books to kind of hope to inspire and motivate. Like in writing chapter 6 was, if you got the book or you're going to get the book or you're going to get the audio book, as you go through the entire book and you read the book and you come to chapter 6, you will understand that you have a responsibility, because I said that understanding the rejection, experiencing rejection, learning the process or understanding the process that you have to go through, and then becoming the blessing, right? So we all have been doubted. We have all had setbacks. We have all had fear set in. We have all had no tolling to us in different forms. We have people who avoided us, people who gave us the runaround, people who wasted our time, but we didn't let that no or rejection define us, and we continue to move forward because we know, as I said in the prelude, no is 2 words. It is one of the most smallest words in the English dictionary, but it is one of the most powerful, impactful word in the dictionary, because that word stops growth. That word stops you dead in your track. So I wanted people, as they read this book and go through this journey with me, and I give you things I did and give you skill sets within this thing is about continuing to move forward, to continue to see the value within yourself, the worth within yourself, and keep pushing despite someone doubting you, despite someone giving you the runaround, despite not getting the right advice, despite someone telling you no, is to continue to move forward. And as you learn these things that through your journey or whatever it is that you're trying to go through, your dreams, your goals, your aspirations, skill sets that you're trying to develop, things that you're trying to share, it is important to not only harness that all of that information, but to share that, become the best, become the help that you was once looking for. So that is the gist of the totality of the book, is through everything that you have going through. At the end of the day, be a blessing to someone else. Become the help that you was always once looking for. And if anybody else doesn't have anything to say, I'll let my moderators conclude, or anybody got any closing words or anything else that they would like to say before we end the show. And again, I want to say I greatly appreciate everybody. I was dead tired. I ain't gonna lie, I was tired. I was like, damn, I want to do this, but I want to lay down. You know what I'm saying? But soon as I seen everybody come in here, man, I just got I got excited, and I just appreciate the support. I appreciate you all being, because I always talk about being a man or a woman of your word, and if something happened, let somebody know something. So I appreciate y'all for being men and women of y'all word and coming on and sharing, you know what I'm saying, and listening and carving out a few you know, a little time, you know what I'm saying? A little time, because everybody's time is valuable, and I try to respect everybody's time. So again, I definitely appreciate y'all.
No, I just wanted to say thank you so much, Coffee, for inviting me in as well. Your listening party provided as well the kind of the breakdown of what this word means, because it's not just that it's just a word, there's emotions behind it, there's characteristics behind it, and what the journey does in terms of becoming this new word, autodidact, because there is power behind it. I can definitely speak to that, especially being as a genealogist and being able to know and to have that type of sense. And people look at you differently. People know when you walk and carry yourself in a certain way with that power. It doesn't matter what, I know you, Sean, you mentioned about having a title or not having a title. That becomes out the window, because when people see and know and feel your aura in your presence, they know you know, and there's no fooling going on at that point. So I definitely appreciate that you wrote this, and you, as I said, defined what everything was, because that's what needed, because sometimes people don't recognize the emotions, don't recognize the characteristics, don't recognize that behind it. So thank you for writing this.
No, I appreciate you. And you all, and you in Canada, right?
Yes, I'm in Canada.
Yeah, she's in Canada. I done been on her podcast twice over there in Canada, so I appreciate you.
I had some smoke coming down here.
Yes,
couldn't even
and
go outside yesterday.
Yeah.
No, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're burning up here.
Yeah. Anybody else
And,
got
and my eyes were stinging in Cleveland too. I was like, ooh, but I love Canada.
Yeah.
Nah, Kofi, I appreciate you writing the book. I mean, I kind of figured where you were going with it when you were trying to reach out to people and get their perspective on what no meant to them and everything. But then at the same time, um, defining it, and then explaining it and separating the meaning and giving real life examples, because I think probably, and we can go back, but chapter 2, right, the runaround. I think you kind of just really, like September said in the chat, man, you just told the truth. You know what I mean? You took your feelings, you put your emotions into book, and I really think that to be honest, even though it's been years later, 6 years later, I think that you probably needed to do this. I can't say now is the perfect time, but I could say the idea of you being able to put your feelings on paper and getting those emotions out of the way probably is one of the most therapeutic moments for you, because it wasn't us consoling you in your moment. It was you taking your time years later to actually put life into perspective and put pen to paper to publish this book, and how it motivated you throughout that, and what caused your separation and your disappearance from certain circles and environments. So it's cool. It's cool to see you overcome that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I want to say thank you for inviting me, Kofi. You sent me that. I was like, oh man. I was like, damn, Kofi still at it, man. He's still doing the work. He's still doing the work, man. And then when I'm sitting on here listening to these chapters, and it's like, man, this a front row seat. Like, I remember when this happened. I remember when that happened. I remember that conversation. I remember when Kofi was mad about that. I remember when he said he wasn't fooling with that. You know, I'm like, man, this is it's full circle for me, man. And like I said, I appreciate you inviting me, bro.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you coming on, man. And Sean just got through speaking. Vasa, Satep, and Chavis. Those are the members of Kofi Piche research team. I'm gonna show y'all something real quick. These are some of the books, so people won't think that we capping. That was another reason to and these are my brothers, and I wanted to bring them on. So I knew they was gonna be able to relate, and they know what I was saying was truthful. But it all started with this book right here, Spirits of Democracy, a historical survey in the minds of African warrior scholars. This is where it all started at. and then it went from Spears to Pen, a historical survey in the minds of African warrior scholars. Then we did, that was volume 2. This is volume 3, Spiritual Combat, a survey in the minds of African warrior scholars. Um, this is 4, Spirit Masters. We are all Spirit Masters. I look at myself as a Spirit Master. This is something when we started studying, going into the Adinka ethnic group in Africa.
Hey, Kofi.
Mhm.
I want to say right quick, as a consumer of those books and being a fan of the whole scholar team from years ago, if you never said what you said in this book about the struggles of making that book, I would have never known that as a consumer of those are wonderful, well put together, amazing books that I would advocate to anybody to get those books. So, but to be a first book, it didn't read like a first book.
Yeah.
It seemed like y'all knew what y'all was doing, and I would never understand the stumbles and fumbles, and it didn't read like that whenever I read it as a consumer way back then. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, I'm telling you.
Oh man, I still got post-traumatic stress from Kofi calling.
We
Well, we sent Boss through the ringer a couple volumes, man.
Yes. Yeah, we did. We really.
I'm glad this happened though, because I didn't know. I kind of knew, but I didn't know how in depth you felt Kofi towards others. So towards that moment in me being in the ringer, it's like, oh, I see it. I see what was happening. So before we even get there, y'all, there was no foul, no. I didn't carry none of that with me.
It's all love, brother.
Yes.
Yeah, we love you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and this the last one. This was the last one we published. We are the spirit. We are the spears of victory. This was the last publication we published. This was a few years ago, and man, we went through some rough times with that. But I just wanted to show that, and then people was able to verify some of the things. Also, these brothers to verify some of the things. You know, like the young folks say, that's cap. That's cap. So I just wanted. So now they are my primaries. We talk about research. You know what I'm saying? So Sean, Satep and Ra, Vasa is my primary sources. So they'll tell you I ain't lying about a lot of the stuff that I actually, y'all heard today. Within
Your
this.
character know that just based on who you are, they should perceive it to not be kept because of how you carry yourself. You stand up.
I would be remiss if I wouldn't mention the influence of your first book in the library in Africa and how the men and the students. There is you guys should go check him out. His name is Omar Champion. He was a volunteer at the school he's here in the States doing some great things, and he never hesitate to talk about the influence. And I remember the look. This was during the pandemic, but the reaction to them that Black men had wrote this book, it was just like wow, So you guys you're on the older end of E,
Oh yeah, and and
She's responsible for that, y'all.
Yeah, she's responsible for our books being in the Gambia area in a library that's named after her. You know what I'm saying? So we always.
Yeah, but I mean, aside from that, no, like I mean, the community, the greater community, like you guys are like the whip. I mean, like they know who you are. Like they're talked about. This is not just some passerby stuff. You have definitely influenced a younger generation of young men who don't get to see that in this what they call it, like an anthology of a group of mindsets. So it just really speaks to the need and that younger, because there's a myth that Black men don't read all this other crazy stuff that's not true. So I just want to put that out there that, the book is definitely well read and it is liked.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Yep.
And before we go, I do want to say that I do appreciate the interaction today. Everybody was in the chat lighting it up. That was a good time to have sidebar conversations. But I'm grateful that Kofi didn't shut down after all that PTSD and things that I don't even know that y'all went through. And I'm glad that you welcome new people because it's after you go through something, it's easy to be like, no, I'm not fooling with nobody, like you said, but you didn't shut yourself out from people and you allow people to come, new people, especially myself being a newer person into your life, into your fold. I'm grateful that you still had the desire to, you know, bring people along with you and not just because any of this you could do by yourself any day of the week. You know, you in your lab right now, you can create from here to the wazoo by yourself. But I'm grateful that you know, still are open. Your heart is still open to have new people and grow in different situations. And I've been able to stretch my expertise is just by the interaction and connection with you. So I'm grateful. And peace to the chat. I'm gonna have to head out here shortly, but I'm grateful for y'all. And thanks for tapping in with us today.
Yeah, we finna end it in. If you don't have it and you know, if you want to get the book, you know, I talked about KDP a lot, and that was in the early stage. I'm a self-published indie author. My books are not published through traditional publishing houses, even though that would be a hard task to do at this point in time because they're looking at entertainers, they're looking at actors, and et cetera. They're not looking at individuals that ourselves to go through these big publishing houses. So to support me and support anybody else that's a self-published author. If they have a platform, support them on their own platform. So it's www.same3differentbranchpublishing.com. It's on Barnes and Nobles, it's on Amazon, but I don't promote any of my material on there. My audiobook is not on Amazon. It is on my platform. You know what I'm saying? Because this is where you support the indie and self-published author at because when you understand the book business, it is nasty. The splits are always in their favor and not in your favor. I didn't write a book for somebody else to get paid. You know what I'm saying? And I get the scraps. It just doesn't make sense for you to build a business because this is business. You build a business and then you sell damn near 70% of equity in your business and you have no say over something that you created because you gave all of the equity away. It just doesn't make sense. So always go patronize the author directly if they have their own platform. Even if you see it on other platforms, patronize the author directly. So support me by going to www.sanctuarypublishing.com to get Your No Is My Biggest Blessing or get the audiobook on the same platform. And I'm not gonna hold y'all up again. I appreciate y'all for coming. We ran over time. I had a great time. I hope everybody else had a great time. I appreciate y'all support. And anytime that y'all need me for anything, you know, everybody know this for a fact. If you need me for anything, just call me. And if I'm able to do it, I will do it. I will keep my word. So on that, again, I thank y'all and shoot, y'all have a great and wonderful day. I'm gonna end this.
Peace, everybody.
Recording. Yeah, peace, y'all.
Thank you.
All right, y'all have a good one. Stop this recording.